Perfect. So everyone, thank you very much for joining this month's community update. Very great to have you as always. And I would say let's jump right in without further ado. So first things first, shout out to the community. And we would like to thank Master Money and Crypto Krillings. You've been doing really amazing on Twitter and in the Telegram group as well. So thank you very much for all your support. Thank you for always being there. Thank you for being active, shouting out on Nino. So this shout out is for you this month. So as you always know, if you're new, you don't, we do a little roundup about what is ONINO, and we've clustered it here. ONINO consists of, on one hand, the ONI graph, the ONINO network, or the ONINO blockchain, and the service tokenized fundraising. There's going to be an update on how we communicate this, but just so you know what that really is. On one hand, the ONI graph is the ONINO blockchain. So this is a technical fundament on which we can build, on one hand, the ONINO blockchain, and on the other hand, blockchains for other companies, customers, developers. And this is the layer 0 ONINO network. And on the other hand, it's tokenized fundraising. That's a service where we help companies kick off their Web3 and blockchain journey through tokenization. So we help them tokenize a specific aspect of their business model and then raise money through this token sales and the upcoming ICO, all through that. So we help them right from the start, go into the business model, help them for the financials and many other things, right up until the ICO. And essentially, all this flows in because on one hand you have the blockchain, on the other hand you have the tokenized fundraising, which you can see as an early onboarding onto the network, as a launchpad, and all this together forms the ONINO ecosystem. With many other things. I don't want to spoil the rest of the presentation. Lucas and Kai are going to talk about some very interesting additions. But I think that's enough for what ONINO is, and let's jump right into the next point, which is the ONINO blockchain.
Yes, thank you, Alex. As many of you know, and many of you have seen by now, we are really close to the launch of our testnet on the 21st of December. So right before Christmas, as you can see, this kind of as our Christmas present. And just in short, the overall features that we aim to release during that time is, of course, the EVM-compatible application layer, which is the testnet, alongside our integration platform, a platform for developers to easily integrate and develop blockchain applications and blockchain solutions, and of course the initial set of developer tools, which are a tool set to make the life as a developer in the blockchain world much easier, which will start with a few simple starting tools and then be expanded as long as our network and platform is running. So you can look forward to a lot of things to be released there. And for just a little bit more context, we want to go into what goals we do have with the ONINO testnet in general, and what we want to test out, what we want to achieve during the whole testnet phase. And therefore we can go on to the next slide. And the overall first goal, of course, is to onboard our existing customers and also onboard more future customers to our then running infrastructure, which will then be public rather than run in private instances. Also, our native blockchain explorer will be launched. So we chose the route for now to not build out a standardized blockchain explorer that, like we know it from Binance Scan and Etherscan, for example. We chose to build our own, as of now, called OniScan. And the overall goal is to make understanding of what's going on there with blockchain transactions and all the hashes that are thrown around there, and the block times and the blocks that are created much more easily understandable for everyone. So that will be one exciting thing to look forwards. Of course, another major goal is the performance monitoring and tuning, so adaptations to the underlying protocol to make it more robust. And also, as in the fourth point, the test out the overall security and just the monitoring of overall runtime performance when it comes to many people from many different locations all over the world, and then also with many nodes provided from all over the world, how the latency is performing. and how the overall experience is for, on the one hand, developers, and on the other hand, for the users, as something that is often not at the forefront of problems in terms of UX problems is just the latency and how long it takes that to make a transaction final, which we all know from Web 2, everything happens at the click of a button. And in blockchain, we often see long waiting times, for example, until a transaction is final. And that's something we can monitor, how we can tweak our parameters to make the UX as pleasant as possible. Another major goal we want to test out during the testnet phase is the general performance and the evaluation of our node client. Things that we take into consideration. What do we have to update to have the most robust and most easy to use node client software for release of our mainnet? Then one major point we want to put emphasis on in the coming months is the generally expanding the ONINO developer community. As of now, we believe that the share of real developers inside of community can still be expanded, and we believe that good developers with good ideas are crucial for any network to succeed, because the applications are at the end the thing that bring users onto the platform. Then what we also want to provide is a platform for external developers to build on ONINO already before the mainnet launch. So that is the general idea behind the testnet, of course, is for people to be able to test their applications before they then put their production environment onto any mainnet running blockchain. And therefore, we have set our goals to make the developer experience as easy and as seamless as possible, which is why we will be providing our whole integration platform on top of our testnet. Then also another major point is the launch of our own ONINO-based applications directly on our public infrastructure. This will be something that we will be releasing in different iterations during the whole testnet phase, which will, of course, be not directly with the launch of the testnet, but you can expect a few things to happen there. And of course, introduction of additional developer features, which is why we put so much emphasis on building out our developer community, because at the end, the customer is king, as many of you know that saying, and that also is true for developer. And we see that additional feature sets and additional tools for our integration platform, which will just help the overall developer experience, and that will ultimately help the adoption of our general network. So these are the main goals we want to pursue and things we want to achieve, and also test and see how things are performing for our testnet. And on the next slide, we have just put in some general information in regards to the testnet. I believe many of you have already seen the registration for our testnet. If you have not seen it, or if you're not signed up by now, feel free to go ahead, because we've chosen the initial route to go through registration to not only see the interest of people, but also see the different categories that we already have within our community, and where we have to basically attract more different users. And currently we allow registrations for builders, validators, and user testers in general. And we have split the categories that way because we will be building different communication channels for different categories of users, because we will be sending out information through email at the start of December with how-tos, onboarding informations, and upcoming events and campaigns in regards to our testnet, how people can help us test our infrastructure capabilities, test our tool sets, and give us feedback in a way that the feedback can actually be communicated to the team. And this is why we've decided to go the route with an initial registration before opening everything up to the more general public, so we can just have much more efficient communication and have a much shorter time from when an issue occurs to when the team gets notified of that issue, and can then start solving any issue that may be coming up during the testnet phase. And then another point that we've seen a few questions already in the Telegram chat is regarding the testnet faucet and the overall spamming of the network. And there are two main measures we are taking to basically prevent spamming the network with faucet transactions. One would be, of course, having a balance of at least one ONI token on the BSC mainnet is required to basically request the testnet ONI faucet transaction, and then also additional spam protection measures such as blocking immediate requests from one IP or one wallet, so that one person or one bot cannot simply single-handedly spam a network. But that is also an important information for everyone going forward to be able to prepare. But as I mentioned already early, we will be sending out the individual mails for each individual category you have signed up for at the start of December, where you can then really prepare for the launch of our testnets, and then also can prepare for the onboarding in general. That being said, if you are part of our community and already have an application in mind that you really would like to proceed with building and maybe just need input or help from our side of the team, there's already now the possibility to get in touch with us, because we will be helping out individually picked applications to make the onboarding much more efficient. So if there are already really interested builders under the people currently listening or listening to this future recording, feel free to reach out to us already now, and you don't have to wait for the emails that will be sent out on the start of December. And with that, we can go on with the next slide.
Yeah, thank you, Lucas. So now we're going to get to the ONINO integration platform. So just to maybe give a bit of context, as Lucas said, we will launch our public testnet in the end of the year. And obviously that's an important milestone on the way to the launch of our mainnet in next year, the new mainnet. And as we have already mentioned and teased a few times before, we don't want to simply just launch a public mainnet and then just put it in front of the people and say, hey, okay, here it is. Now it's your problem what you're going to do with it and what you're going to build on it. But we actually really want to take the people by the hand, so to say, and guide them through the entire process of, so to say, developing a blockchain solution or blockchain application. Because, as you know, we always keep the goal in the back of our heads to onboard real-world Web2 companies into the blockchain space and make it accessible for them. And we have made a lot of research and also had a lot of talks in the last month with industry companies. And we have realized that most companies simply lack the time, on the one hand, the financial resources on the other hand, and also like simply the expert knowledge to implement blockchain solutions that actually have an impact on their company, on their business, so to say. And this is why we'll also launch with the mainnet what we're currently calling the ONINO integration platform. So you can imagine it's basically a web application, like an onboarding application that enables every user, that means individual developers, for example, community members like you, or also industry companies, to totally easily ideate, develop, deploy, and integrate the blockchain application that they want to build, or the blockchain business case that they want to build, so to say, directly on the ONINO blockchain. And for that, we use, for example, pre-built templates for different business cases. Let's say, for example, I want to build a supply chain tracking solution. I want to build a data validation solution. We'll also have easy to integrate SDKs. That means, for example, I have my, business application and it's built in C# or in JavaScript or any other programming language. And then there's a suitable package from ONINO that you can basically use and directly integrate into your application. And we will also, and Java, I just seen in the chat, yeah, that's also on the agenda. And we will also have automated assistants that will make it very easy for everyone, for every customer out there, to build exciting applications directly on the ONINO network, and therefore bring a lot of applications to the network. And we're just going to dive a little bit more into what we basically mean with the entire process where we are assisting people. So if you could just move to the next slide. Slide is sticky. There it is. Thanks. So yeah, as I said before, we basically want to accompany people or businesses along the entire process. So the first step would be ideation, because a lot of, especially Web2 companies in the first place, have a hard time to even think of how they could even integrate blockchain in a value-creating manner into their business model. This is why we will provide extensive template libraries, as I said before, that basically are a showcase of different things you can do and build on the blockchain, and how you could basically build value-creating solutions for different industries. And then you can basically just browse through this library and get inspiration and see, hey, okay, this could be a business case that would be interesting for us. Then in the second step, we have the development phase, right? I have to build my blockchain application on the application layer, so to say. And for that, later more on that, we'll have an AI-based assistant that will help you to, or basically everyone, to create their smart contract solutions based on the templates that we offer. Then the next step would be the deployment, because that is also a point where companies, as we have learned, are currently struggling a lot, basically. Like, okay, now I have written that smart contract code. How the hell do I now deploy it on a mainnet, or do I even need my own private blockchain, or do I need a subchain somewhere? So this is a lot of hustle today for companies, which is why we'll also basically offer the possibility to take this code that our AI-based assistant has written for you and directly deploy that. And there you can choose between just deploying on your Nino mainnet, if that's beneficial for your application, or it will also be possible with only a few clicks to leverage the power of our underlying layer 0 blockchain protocol and deploy your own sub-blockchain, so to say, for your own use case. So depending on the application that you're building, there will also be automated recommendations on what to do. But depending on the use case you're building, sometimes it can actually benefit your application a lot when you have your own isolated sub-blockchain, so to say, that's just attached to the mainnet consensus, but still has its own data layer, so to say. Simply because you don't have this, what we call a noisy neighbor problem. Just an easy example, you have your supply chain tracking solution running on the Nino mainnet, or like on Ethereum, for example, and then somebody is minting like 80,000 ape NFTs next to your application, so to say, and then the network becomes congested and basically limits what your application can right now achieve in terms of throughput. So there's actually a lot of cases where it makes sense to set up your own custom sub-blockchain. And this will also be totally easy using the ONINO integration platform to deploy your own customized network, sub-network, so to say, using our layer 0 infrastructure that is underlying. And then we have the fourth and the last step, right? Because right now we have thought of a cool solution, we have developed it, we have deployed it, but now there's still like one step missing. How do we now plug this into our existing ecosystem, right? Because there will be a lot of cases where people build totally new businesses up from the ground, but there will also be many cases, especially in the industry context, where people will have to deploy, integrate their new created blockchain solution into their existing infrastructure that they have. And this is currently also quite a barrier of entry for a lot of companies, as we have learned, and is, to be honest, with the current tech stack, an immense hustle, which is why our integration platform will also automatically, as the name already hints to, basically spit you out some really, really easy to use APIs to interact with your newly built application. And you basically just have to plug them into your existing infrastructure without having to worry and without weeks of hustle of integration from your blockchain solution to your legacy code, so to say. So this will be basically the whole process that we are planning to accompany developers and companies alongside, from ideation over development, over deployment, until finally up to the integration into your existing infrastructure. As I said before, simply because we are totally convinced that such a end-to-end service, so to say, is the best mechanism to reduce the barriers of entry for the blockchain space. And finally, coming back to our ultimate goal, to onboard industry companies from the real world, from Web 2 into the blockchain world, and make it usable for them. Yeah, and with that, we can come to the next slide, where we have a little teaser for you, which is that we want to announce one of the first features of the Nino integration platform that I just shortly mentioned, which is called currently the ONINO AI Assistant. So basically, we have taken state-of-the-art generative AI models and have built a web application around them, have pre-trained them to fit our needs. And now in the end, we have a, so to say, AI-based assistant that helps every developer and every company out there to simply transform their business case into ready to deploy blockchain smart contract code. So as I said before, this is the first feature of the ONINO platform that we are building right now, as we think that this is one of that brings the largest impact and helps the most to reduce the barrier of entry for Web 2 developers and companies. And most importantly, we think, or we are totally convinced, so to say, that this is a feature that will reduce especially the time to MVP for companies drastically. And we also have a little screenshot that we brought to you on the next slide. So currently the first MVP is already developed. And what you see there, basically, some of you might recognize it from GPT. We just kept it in a similar style as people are used to it. And you can basically just chat with that assistant, present him your business idea, present him what you want to do. And then in the end, totally clearly in super easy language, explains to you what you need, explains exactly the components that your solution requires. And then in the end, as you see in the screenshot, already spits you out the code that you need to deploy your solution. So in this case, here we have an example where totally without any technical knowledge, ask the question, hey, I want to make data validation. I want to check my database against the blockchain if it's integer. Then our assistant, as you can see in the screenshot, basically gives you a full explanation on how the architecture of the application could look like and what the different steps are that you have to take to achieve that. And then in the end, you see here the code starting in green down there. It spits you out the full code that you simply can deploy using our deployment feature in the next step then. And just easily let it automatically deploy on the Nino blockchain or on your own custom chain for you, whatever fits your case best. Yeah, that was a quick rundown on the new ONINO development and integration platform, which will be, as I said, our mechanism to help onboard industry companies and especially Web2 companies onto the Nino blockchain, and therefore help to increase the blockchain mass adoption and especially bring traffic and activity on our ONINO network.
Perfect. And with that, thank you very much, Kai. On to the next one, which is the ONINO website positioning update. We have told you about it in the last community update. We are working on a positioning update. It's not going to change anything that we're doing. It's only changing how we communicate it. Because we have talked with many companies, and at the moment our website is very focused on different things. It's focused on one hand on the blockchain tech, on the other hand on you, the community, and on the other hand on companies. And this is complicated for us as a company because the main thing essentially at the end of the day is we need to make revenue and we need to sell our services. And this is why the focus of our website is going to change a little bit more towards the companies we want to sell the products to. What you're seeing at the moment is a page that is tailored to you because there will be on the new website a specific community point. You can see it here in the middle if you see my mouse. And so we will, on the main page, focus towards companies that are just interested in the ONINO services, that could use our blockchain, that could use, for example, the AI assistant that Kai just talked about and many different things. And then there will be specific pages for developers, for the community, for the blog, and about us, etc. We asked you for input. If you have input for the community page, there was some input. And if you have more input, feel free to shoot us this input. Yeah, but I'm not going to talk too much about it. This is a little preview, and I think you're going to like it a lot, or I hope so. It's going to help us as well, positioning us into the market and showing what exactly we're doing. So this is going to be due soon. I'm not going to tell you when exactly. So, and this is a very empty slide because Zeely is going to open for ONINO as well. And I'm not going to spoil too much. It's going to come very soon, most likely in this week or next week. And I think we will be explaining a lot more about the process and what exactly you can do there. But we have thought about the community. There were many voices that were asking for it. And I think it's a great idea to reward the ones that are helping us with the reach and being super active on social media and everywhere. And it's going to help us as well, giving us a little marketing kick and rewarding those that help us on a daily basis. So Zeely for ONINO is going to come very soon as well. So next one are upcoming events. And we are going to be at Web Summit on the 14th, 15th, and 16th November, which is in Lisbon. So if any one of you is there, feel free to come find us. We are there with the German delegation. So at the Web Summit, there is always different stands and different possibilities how you can go there. We're going there with the country of Germany. We have applied there and they accepted our application. And so we will be there as a German delegation. There's going to be many different companies and startups at the stand of Germany. And we'll be there representing what we do at ONINO. And if any one of you is there, feel free to find us, come talk to us. And there might even be some goodies. Let's see, you might be able to get them if you talk to us. And then on the 30th of November, there is going to be, again, a format of the Heidelberger Volksimpulse. If you remember back in October, we were there as well. This one is going to be in the metaverse, which is going to be very interesting as well. So I'm not even going to have to move there. It's going to be on site. And I think that's not going to be on site. It's going to be remotely. And I think this is pretty cool. So looking forward to that as well. And being able to show those companies what we're doing, what we're working on. As always, a little reminder, there is the ONINO newsletter. Feel free to sign up here under newsletter.onino.io. We're summarizing what we do every month in this newsletter. You with the community update are always first, but if you want to have a condensed version and are not able to come listen live or listen to a often 1 hour or even more long video on social media, on YouTube, then feel free to join the newsletter and be updated around what's happening with ONINO. So hiring, I think, hiring is, we're still looking or have found someone, but it's still open regarding blockchain architects and protocol developers and sales, marketing, and community building. It's not very specifically urgent anymore because we have found people and are working with them in the background already. There will be some announcements, but still those are two positions that if you know someone or if you are this person, feel free to reach out to us, and we are always open to add people that add value to the team. So now, without further ado, is questions time, and let's jump right into it. And first part is tokenization and Launchpad by ONINO.
Yes, thank you, Alex. We've got two major question points in terms of our tokenization and Launchpad services. And the first one is more about one of the new customers we've just recently announced, going by the name of WorkBuddy. And I will just go ahead and read the question as always and then provide an answer for each individual part of the question. So let's jump right in while I think the presentation is back on. Thanks. In regards to WorkBuddy, it would be great to know what it is exactly that they do and how they will benefit from being on a blockchain. So what WorkBuddy provides in general is something I will just briefly go into detail because there's basically their part to communicate once they are ready to go launch publicly. But I will just summarize it quickly. So WorkBuddy is building a communication platforms for job seekers to connect with their potential future employers and also connect with people that have been at their job recently, that to get insights on how the intricate workings of the company are exactly from a point of view that much better represents the everyday work life than a simple job posting, because they go beyond the written word and let or enable job seekers to see how exactly they would be living their everyday life if they would engage in a job with a potential employer. The next question is, how do they make revenue? And that is really an interesting part because WorkBuddy has already launched the application and they've already onboarded a few customers. I'm not sure if I can say the exact number, but as mentioned before, I guess I will leave that information to them. And they are a B2B service to companies directly, and this is also what they will be using as their main income stream. The next question is, what's the incentive for users to chat about their workplace? And this is where the blockchain can really be beneficial because the intricate workings are quite complex, but in general, you can say that a token is a really, really great way to incentivize users and current employees to chat with job seekers and basically give them information about how the workings behind the curtains are and what they can be expecting once they sign up for a new job somewhere else. And this is really where a token is a perfect fit as a community building and engagement enhancing tool. And you can look forward to what WorkBuddy will present in the future. And they're really interesting designs they have chosen in terms of token and economic designs and general mechanism design behind the whole incentivization mechanism. And then the last question is, what is to stop a company from hiring someone to say good things about their company? I would basically say this is one good question that the work buddy team themselves has to answer, because I don't want to take anything out of their mouth, and I can't really answer it to the best of my ability. But you can be assured that they've put a lot of thought into that. They've built really intricate feedback mechanisms, and also built really intricate functionality behind the incentivation mechanisms that are tied to the token to really incentivize positive behavior and not incentivize the negative behavior. So really enable people that are truthfully speaking about any potential applicants, and also truthfully speaking about how it's going on behind the scenes for a company, so that the overall platform value goes up. But these questions are much more suited to be asked once the work buddy team is ready to go out there to the public. And then the next general question is not related to work buddy, but it's a more general question in regards to tokenization and our Launchpad services. Have you learned any lessons from the Kadaiko pre-seed sale? And if so, what are these learnings? If not, don't you think you should reflect on it for future launches? Definitely. We are always reflecting and seeing how things are working, especially at the current uncertainty that is everywhere in the current blockchain space. On the one hand, one learning, of course, is the market is in a slump. It is really hard for ICOs to shine, and there goes really a lot into building a successful token sale and building a community that is engaged and community that is interested. Something that on Kadaiko we've tested many different measures, and are currently still testing out a lot of measures on how each individual mechanism essentially works for building a community. And these are all really good learnings that we are taking for every future project we are taking in. And of course, the marketing is something that is really crucial for any pre-seed sale or token crowdfunding to be successful. And we believe we've got quite a lot of insights. There's still a way to go for Kadaiko, and we are still pushing through. And that being said, we are working with the Kadaiko team every day, and we are still surprised how fast they can progress. Not really in terms of how fast they can go out and market and position themselves, but in terms of building their product, building out really substantial connections and partnerships that, of course, are always not the easiest to immediately announce to the public, but we see it every day, and we are really convinced that Pedram and his team, they can really provide substantial value, especially for their customers that are in the engineering sector. But going back to the question, we have learned a lot, and we are still looking forward to learn a lot more, and then also looking forward to apply these learnings when we are in much more better market conditions, which makes this service even more enticing.
Yeah, so we come to the next part of the questions, the blockchain part. Let's jump right in. So the first one is, will there be any incentives for the testnet? If not like a traditional testnet reward system, maybe something like a bug bounty could work. Interesting question you're bringing up. We definitely already have a few competitions in mind next to traditional testnet reward systems that we are currently building out, currently planning, and we'll let you know once they are totally planned out in December. But what we can definitely say, there will not be any generalized airdrop, as you know it from other layer 1 or layer 0 projects. But as I said, we have definitely several competitions in mind. Also, as you proposed, a bug bounty program is definitely on the agenda. But as you know, bug bounty program is very, very developer focused, so to say, for the tech-savvy people. But we also have some ideas on how we can basically incentivize and reward, so to say, rather non-technical people who work more on the bit creative side. But not want to take too much forward already now. But you can definitely stay tuned on that. We'll have some cool ideas in the back of our heads. And the next one I would give to Lucas.
Yes. In before, I would just slide in a question from Yuki Fomo directly from the chat because it just fits the team perfectly. Yuki is wondering if the requirements for running a node, so currently setting up a validator node instance, it requires 3,500 or 35,000 ONI, to be correct. If this will be re-indexed if the price of ONI goes up a lot, or if the pricing in general just changes. And that is something we can answer with a definite yes. So we've chosen that initial amount to really have a significant stake while not leaving out too many individuals. So while still being able to decentralize our network, while having the economic incentive to not act against the network, to say so. But these values will be adjusted if there are any major market impacts to the pricing of the amount of stake that you have to put up. Then the next question is in regards to the testnet and how the spam mechanisms are that we built into it. So holding one ONI token isn't a very big deterrent from spamming the network. This is directly related to the ONI faucet that we've already talked about earlier in this update. That is currently a price of 11 cents to spam the network with unlimited test tokens. Would you consider increasing to 100 or even 500 as a $10 to $50 range is a bigger deterrent? This actually is a good question. We chose the simple one ONI token number because we don't rely on that simple mechanism as the only spam protection for people to send out multiple testnet transactions to spam our network, as there are the general, more obvious spam protection measures already present for the faucet, such as a blocker for the general IP that you can't withdraw multiple ONI faucet. And if you've used a few other testnet faucets, you will be seeing the same mechanism present on our ONI testnet faucet. And with that, I will give the ball back to Kai to go over to the next question.
Thanks, Lucas. I will just make the next question after the current one because it just fits it well. It's been mentioned about spamming the network, but isn't it actually a good idea to try to spam the network to see the capabilities of how it holds up, and that way improvements can be made? This is actually a very good idea and a very good question, and you're thinking about it. So fully agree, but this is something that should definitely be done in a controlled environment. And this is also on our agenda and is currently also done in an internal way. So basically we run internal stress tests to have a clear and also replicable measurement process, just like you would have it in a scientific experiment, right? You can imagine it like that. You really build up a controlled experimental setting, so to say. Okay, I have 10 nodes, some hosted on these continents, some hosted on these continents, and I run these amounts of transactions in this order. And then basically I could make some I could measure that, and then could basically make some adjustments, improvements to the protocol, to the consensus, whatever, and then make exactly that experiment again in the same setting, so to say. And then I could definitely clearly, and with a, so to say, scientific proof, say that my improvements to the protocol were successful, and I could actually improve something in the long term. So yeah, very good idea. Definitely on the agenda, but this is something that is done in a internal controlled environment. And then following up on the question, so what types of things for the average user, not for developers, would you like us to see to do with the testnet to best test it? So yeah, again, very good question also. On the one hand, it would be the simple, so to say, testing of basically creating basically importing the ONINO network into your wallet, sending transactions like the basic standard blockchain stuff that you would expect from the everyday life of sending transactions, for example. Then on the other hand, we would like to test the entire onboarding process, like for example, how easy is it to add ONI to your network? Basically, how easy is it to get your ONI? Like the entire user flow of onboarding to ONINO, so to say. Then third, we will have the testing of the built apps that Lucas mentioned, like the Block Explorer, for example, maybe some other applications that we'll also launch with the testnet. So we will definitely put you through some user testing rounds of these first applications running on the testnet. And what we would also like to do, you said not for developers, but we would also like to basically test our blockchain integration platform. So especially, for example, things like the AI assistant that also is supposed to help non-tech savvy people to develop. And we would also, especially you as, so to say, average user testers, would like to have that tested by you to see if it is really that easy that even non-tech savvy people can develop using it, or if there's still some improvements that have to be made. Yeah, and we're also currently assisting or assessing, if that would make sense, is that we are building up some kind of monthly feedback roundtables, so to say, a different kind of community call every month, where we can then collect feedback from developers, from average users or like mainstream users, and have like, yeah, a vivid and lively exchange within the community. So yeah, definitely got a lot of stuff in the back of our heads for that. So if you sign up for being a tester, you're not going to be bored. We're going to have a lot of tasks for you. No worries. And with that, I would pass the ball back to Lucas.
Yes, thank you. The next question is phase 4 and 5 are imminent. This is directly related to the different development phases we presented previously in our community updates. We need a CX listing before migrating to the ONI graph. Which CX will you be looking at to list? I don't think it needs to be a tier 1 listing, but it definitely needs to be one that is accessible to a lot of people. That is actually a good question, and we as a team always understand the concern of a community to make a project more accessible in general to the public, and that is through making the onboarding a lot easier than the going through the overall hassle to just have only a simple DEX that currently allows the ONI token to be traded. But we as a team publicly refrain from announcing any listing endeavors in beforehand, just because it's more a regulatory manner and we cannot guarantee anything in that regards. But what we can say is that we do see the need for a connection at the latest when our mainnet is ready for making the onboarding of users onto our network, which ultimately requires real ONI token, much more easy to deposit and withdraw from our mainnet in the future. But that is all that we could say in such regards. We do see the need for it, but we can't guarantee anything.
Perfect. Thank you, Lucas. Thank you, Kai. And with that, on to the next ones, which are the missed questions. So first question is, can we start to get a weekly timeline of how things are progressing and what's upcoming for Nino? Because we're nearing the stage where we need to onboard users, and I still feel like you guys are holding back a lot. Yeah, sorry for that. Always known to hold back the good things for the end. We are preparing that, and we're in the end of preparing that, but we cannot guarantee a weekly timeline. We'll definitely update you with further information very soon. There will be updates for anyone that needs to have information, builders, people that are interested to host nodes, etc. But those are not information that will be shared to the broad public, or not everything, because like I already said, there is different classifications of people. Some are just interested in users, some want to build some things, some want to host nodes. And it's going to get confusing if we start putting all those things out there. So you have signed up, and if you have signed up, you will receive the information that's relevant to you, that we can guarantee, and it will be there in due time. So next question is, in the business white paper, it shows that the roadmap for 2023 and suggests intensive marketing for ONI Graph starting this year, not next year. Intensive suggests more than just posting on Twitter or X and some other socials. So when will this be happening, and what can we expect? So currently, like you see, we are keeping things quieter, and there's different reasons for that. We are on one hand revamping our communication strategy and the outside presentation, especially toward customers. We're doing a lot of B2B marketing, because currently, if you look at our product and how we, on one hand, can bring a lot of users to the blockchain, and on the other hand, generate revenue, it's mostly through B2B. So we are focusing on the B2B aspect, and that's why we're going to conventions. We are going to events. We are hosting events as well, talking to many companies. And one hand, it's a good thing that you don't see this marketing because it is tailored to companies and not individuals. And there is going to be a lot of marketing towards B2B, and there is a lot already. And there will, of course, once the network is publicly available, be much more marketing towards this direction as well. Just at the moment, we are preparing the testnet phase, so marketing is not going to be too intensive. And if we go towards the testnet release, and if we are going to go to the mainnet release later on, those will be the events that will be heavily marketed where it is needed. So B2B at the moment, and a bigger focus on B2C at later stages. Next question is, will you make any video informational infomercials? Never heard that word. Now I have. About the ONI graph. What is it aimed for? For example, enterprise and its use cases. Short answer, yes, we will. There will be a lot of information regarding the ONI graph, how you use it, who it's tailored to, what you can do with it, who can do what with it, all those things. There is going to be a lot of information. We're trying to keep it short and concise as always. Not going to try to flood everything with anything you can imagine. That everything that makes sense will be put into a video. Some things will make sense, and those will be put into a blog article, like you've seen it so far. And we are focusing on those things, and there will be videos. And last question is, we have moved some liquidity to ETH for diversification. Why not BTC? Every pair seems to go up with BTC. And that question is for you, Lucas.
Yes. In general, the market most of the times, at least out of experience and what we've seen in the last few general cycles, is that the whole market moves together, while Bitcoin often just functions as the main indicator for the overall blockchain market, which also leads to the fact that there's always a little time shift between when Bitcoin moves and everything that is pegged directly to Bitcoin moves, and when other alts tend to follow. Like they sometimes precede price action, and they follow later on. In general, why we've chosen the route to move the liquidity to an ETH pairing is mainly two things. On the one hand, many people of our community have reached out to us and have asked that a different pairing, for example, with ETH specifically, would be much more beneficial and would make it much more accessible, and especially with our long-term plan of migrating a major part of liquidity pools over to the Ethereum mainnet, because the general activity there is just much, much greater than it is on most other networks out there. So that was more a strategic decision. And also, we believe that no matter if it's ETH or Bitcoin, in the long run, the difference will not be too great. So these are our reasonings behind making that move.
Perfect. Thank you, Lucas. And thank you to everyone listening so far. And now we are going to go to the live segment of the community update. So let's see what questions you have brought up into the chat. So I'm going to try scanning through the chat. Kai, Lucas, or the mods, if you see any questions, feel free to just ask them. And if anyone wants to ask any questions, feel free to raise your hand, and we will let you ask your question if you want to.
I think Tom is not there tonight, so it won't be. Or is he? Yeah, Tom is. Tom is there. The question.
Oh, there are a few people typing already. There is one question. Why are we not also doing the community updates over on X, or formerly Twitter? I can directly shoot that question to you, Alex.
Yes, because we see our our community being most active here on Telegram. We have used X before, and we saw that it was pretty similar. And as we have the most activity in this chat, we thought it would make sense to have it here. If the majority thinks X makes more sense, we can happily do that. It's just, it doesn't really make any difference for us. It's just that it worked here. We've always been doing it here. The main activity is here, so that's why we're doing it here. But if you think X is better, please speak out, and then we are happy to move it.
Yeah. Then we've got another one. Does the AI assistant have a name already? Did I miss that? Not yet. Currently, it's just the ONINO AI Assistant for now. But yeah, as I said before, it's kind of also rather like a feature of the ONINO integration platform, and it's like a standalone app, so to say. So yeah, not even quite sure if we want to give that child its own name, but probably it's just going to be a feature of the integration platform, which is not separately named except from the AI assistant.
Yes, there's a question from Tom, actually. He asked if there is an update on the projects we mentioned last time. I'm not 100% sure which projects you are referring to, but currently I just take it to be Kadaiko and WorkBuddy. So the general updates should always be coming from the team, but we can share what we can share. So Kadaiko is progressing really nicely in terms of building up the product, building up the relevant partnerships behind the scenes. Of course, the sale is having a difficult time, and that is also tied to the fact that the overall really marketing efforts are yet to commence. But what we are seeing in terms of progress with their AI model and also the designs for how they want to implement everything in the whole platform and the blockchain in the whole platform, and also the token design is really having a really great outlook for the future. And also WorkBuddy, they have a lot to do with the overall platform release as they just launched. They are already onboarding quite a few customers, so they are growing substantially at an early stage already. But other than that, WorkBuddy will be sharing a lot of information once the team is ready and once everything is set in stone and everything is prepared behind the scenes. So we cannot really share much more than that. I see a few questions related to TikTok dancing and everything. But we will go on
Lucas,
with...
answer that question. I would love to see that too.
Well, that would maybe put off a lot of our supporters from supporting ONINO, so we better not do that. But let's go on.
It may go viral.
Indeed, it may go viral as really bad dance. Going on with the next question. Nowadays, most of the AI systems come out with well-trained models. How well is the ONINO AI assistant trained? And Kai, do you want to answer it?
Yeah, I think I'm not quite sure if they teach me that they are not well trained. The most assistants come out today because of the without. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, so we can basically tell about the technicalities behind the assistant. So it's right now the MVP version is not actually like retrained on a model level, so to say, but it's basically a open AI model that is, so to say, fed with certain information, and in that kind of sense, like retrained in quotes, you would say. But yeah, right now it's the first MVP, as I said, and it's working out quite well actually. So yeah, you wouldn't have to worry that it's not well trained. We're doing our best, and currently all the tests that we have run are working out quite well. And yeah, and definitely later on, if the demand is there for that solution, basically for the AI assistant, if we have increased manpower, then this is definitely going to be improved further and further. But yeah, we're not going to reinvent the wheel here and basically train some AI models from scratch, simply because there's so many good pre-trained transform models out that you can just rely on by just making some modifications and then putting them to use for you. Then we got any new team members yet from Tom? Actually, we do have several new team members in the pipeline, but unfortunately we can't announce anything there yet. Actually, just got a mail from one of them today that we can't announce publicly. You know how it is when you're still working in another company. Yeah, in a so to say relevant position, then it's not always easy to communicate when you will start where at which new position. So right now, still everything undisclosed, but yeah, definitely some news you can stay tuned for. There's definitely also some work in the HR department going on. And yeah, I think the AI assistant is actually Niels. That would be the best AI system we could get. Community party on Bahamas. Yeah, I think we're not FTX, so we're just gonna leave that.
But there will be a community party once we launch the mainnet. But I think as the serious questions are nearing the end, and as we're nearing an hour, I think that's a very good mark. So I would say, everyone, thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for the great questions. I hope you like the answers, and see you again next month. Or hear you again next month.
Thank you for joining, everybody.
In the chat. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Bye.
Thanks.
Have a great evening.